All right. Hello and welcome to Artificially Intelligent.
Indeed.
My wife loves the name, and we just did an hour and a half drive. Quickly, it's Barrett Antar Goodwin, musician in Philadelphia. I'm Nathan Timmel, comedian, stand-up comedian in Iowa, and we are lifelong friends. We have discussions on anything and everything under the sun. And my wife and I just drove an hour to get our microchips. I just got microchipped.
Oh, nice.
Just got back, got the Pfizer, and long story of interest to very few people, but her sister and their family, 5 of them, got stuck in Chicago and are hiring a driver to bring them here at a cost of $450. So they will be here in a little while, which is I put Barrett under a time crunch saying, we got to log on and bang this out because it's going to get goddamn noisy.
Why did they get stuck in Chicago?
Because it's spring break. Their first flight, they were texting and saying, well, the flight was supposed to leave at 10:30. We've been sitting on the tarmac for an hour, which means they missed their connection. And then in Chicago, because it's spring break, every flight was full until Monday. They are both teachers and they have to be back at work Monday morning. So options were limited, but they are coming here and we needed to talk.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do it.
Let's do it. And what we were talking about the other day, just you and I talking personally, was meditation and negative thoughts. And I like something you said in the past, and maybe we've said it on here before, but one of your quotes is, if someone talked to you the way you talk to yourself, you'd punch them right in the mouth.
Absolutely. You fucking kick them right in their necks.
Yeah, because it's, and maybe it's in part because I'm a comedian and I've been heckled, or maybe it's my low self-esteem, but I've never gotten my blood up or really had hurt feelings when I've been insulted, because if someone says, oh, you suck, or fuck you, or you're ugly, or I wouldn't date you, or whatever any other person could say, I'm going, I've said that to myself and worse. Bring it. And when we were talking the other day, you said that meditation really put you under the microscope as to how many negative thoughts you have during the day. So what I'd like to talk about during this time is a little of what we talked about already, just you and I. I don't want to say it's the difference between us, but you talked about having the negative thoughts during the course of the day, whereas with me, it is generally when I wake up in the middle of the night, it just all hits me like, oh, you're awake? All right, fuck you. You're a failure. You're never going to get another booking. And it's off and running, and I cannot get back to sleep. And I do my best to meditate, but I start questioning every interaction I've ever had with people. I shouldn't have said that. How did I make that person feel? Why am I such an asshole? Geez, I'm a bad person. Why do we do this to ourselves, and what can be done about it? Let's start right there. If you want to tell your story, your piece. I've sort of said mine. My negativity begins in the wee hours of the night. I don't know if I asked you this. Do you really have the negative thoughts all day long, or are you saying that's a you of the past and you're working to combat it, or is it something you're recently aware of?
My negative thoughts are intimately connected to my being a judgmental fuckhead, right?
Same.
Like, I feel like, and I'm really working on this now, like not assuming the worst of people, but particularly in some kind of defensive manner, right? Like, I went to go get my alignment done the other day, and the guy told me to be there at 10. I said, great, I need to be out of there by 12. They didn't start the car until 12:30.
I was going to say, you called me, I think, at 11:30 when we talked, and you're like, I've been here an hour and a half, and I'm just sitting here.
Yeah, right. And so I just chilled in my car because COVID and everything. I was chilling in the office for a minute with the mask on and just reading the book. And I was like, I gotta do this in my car. Turn on the heat and put the seat back and relax. If, you know, my car's clearly visible by the dude who's supposed to be working on it. And so he and I made eye contact, and he looked away, and I thought to myself, like, just all kinds of stuff that he must be thinking, right? He
You made eye
must be
contact when you were
thinking.
in the lobby and thinking of moving to your car,
No,
or from
when
your
I
car?
was sitting in my car.
Okay.
And I remember thinking that he must be thinking all these weird things. And I thought that because if I were in the situation where I had told somebody something and then I was 2 hours behind that schedule and they told me they wanted to be up by then, and I saw them chilling in their car, there's a part of me that would feel like they're chilling in their car so that I see them, so that I know I'm fucking up. Now, that's completely ridiculous because I was really just chilling in my car because it's actually the most comfortable place to be. But I could see how my making assumptions and assuming I could read somebody's mind and applying all these negative thoughts, which is kind of what I would have done in that situation, which led me to think, oh, but that's ridiculous. Like, I don't actually know if I was him and somebody was sitting in their car. I don't know that they're trying to send me a message or that's just the most comfortable place they can find. And I feel like many of my negative thoughts come out of that somehow. Like a feeling like I'm being judged all the time that also makes me judgmental,
Hmm.
right? Like, if that makes sense, right?
It
And
does. It's almost an offensive defensive mechanism. I'm
right,
gonna judge you before you get the chance to judge me.
right. Now, what I've realized is that ultimately, once you stop giving a shit what people think, then none of that stuff matters. And that's what, to tie it into the meditation, that's what the meditation's done for me. And I'm not like some super meditator, but I started really just noticing what my thoughts are, how much my thoughts are thinking about what other people are thinking about me, or what there's, you know what I mean, whatever it is, just craziness and just the amount of like, the amount of barriers I put on myself because of something that might happen because I might not be good enough to do X, Y, or Z. Do you know what I mean? Right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of that stuff. And so I'm like, oh, but you know, again, a little hippie-ish, a little woo-woo-y, as they say. But like, what you focus on increases, you know? And when again, it sounds really corny,
I was gonna
but
say, but
like,
don't get too dangerous there, because that wasn't that the secret. That was the big thing a while ago.
right,
What is the secret? Oh, I believe in prosperity, so it will
right.
flow to me.
Well, here's what I will say. When I am feeling particularly grateful for the life that I have, and I focus on all of the good stuff in my life, of which there is plenty, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like equal parts light, equal parts shadow, right? Like, I could look at all the bad stuff and there's a heap of it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a heap of things that could be better, I wish were better, or whatever, right? But there's also a remarkable amount of really amazing things in my life, you know? And if I focus on the amazing things in my life, and I'm really grateful for those amazing things, and then I learn to forgive other people for things that they've done, because you realize that at the end of the day, like, I've done a lot of really fucked up things in my life too to people, not because I, not because of something they did. That might have been the trigger, but it was really my own character that interpreted their actions, even if their actions were malicious, they interpreted them away and then thought retaliation was the best. A lot of times, though, my interpretation was incorrect and I still did something fucked up afterwards. So when somebody does something fucked up to me, I have to understand that it's not me, it's them, right? And then I don't take it personally, and then I forgive them because I do the same stupid shit, right? It's like we drive in traffic and we get mad when people cut us off. And then when we cut somebody else off by accident, it's like, and
It's
they get mad,
justifiable.
you're like, fuck you, dude. Can't you see him? And whatever. Or it's just, I made a mistake, man. Like, I made a mistake. Like, Jesus Christ, am I not allowed to make a mistake? Right. And so you just learn to just forgive people when they cut you off or do something and realize that everybody's just doing the best they can.
Yeah.
When I do those things, good things do seem to flow into my life. That sounds stupid, but it really is true. You know,
My head is spinning right now.
I said a lot of stuff. So,
Well, yeah. So I'm going to vomit right now,
yes.
and
I mean, I just
try
did,
and
so.
catch what you can and respond to what you can.
Yes.
First of all, I agree with you. It's better to have a positive mindset than a negative one.
Mm-hmm.
I also, and I'm not discounting it, but I also think of the show American Idol, where at the beginning they show all the auditions and they have thousands of people all going, I'm the next American Idol. And maybe they all believe it, but at the end, there's only one. And I just think of that when it comes to the positivity.
Right.
Another thought I had while you were talking when it comes to transgressions against oneself is the other day I was thinking about Smashing Pumpkins, not the shitty band I hate, but actually physically smashing pumpkins, which I did as a teenager. And as an adult later on, I thought about it and realized how shitty it was of me to, I was a teenager. You do stupid things. You're an asshole. You're destructive. But this is a weird spin, but go with me on it. What I was thinking the other day is now that I have kids, someday if someone smashes the pumpkins my kids and Carve put out, I'm going to go, yeah, okay. Not because I believe in karma, but because I'll get that they didn't probably target our house and there's a feral cat stalking something right outside my window. But because it just happened. There's another me out there who just saw some pumpkins that someone carved and went and smashed them. So being old gives you perspective like that. And it's just not just smashing pumpkins. It goes to the cutting off in traffic. It goes to what you talked about. I've done so much fucked up things in my life on purpose and on accident. So yes, now that I'm older and with perspective, I can be hopefully more forgiving of others when they do things on purpose or on accident. Yes. And the final thought I had, maybe, is something you and I talked about when it comes to reading people incorrectly. And I'm going to be careful here because I don't want to. This is more about me than anyone else. You and I had a phone call the other night. I called you at like 4 a.m. because I was awake and driving, and I saw you were awake. And I was driving home from a gig, and I had gotten the opening act, The Job, to open for me, and didn't do great. And then I went up and did really well, and then he ditched out before saying goodbye. And so I had something for him. I had a gift for him, and I sent a message like, hey, I got something for you. Where'd you go? And then I saw that he read the message and didn't respond. And as I told you, I got kind of offended. Like, I wasn't looking for, dude, thank you so much for getting me the job. Like, I wasn't looking for thanks or praise, but I'm like, he didn't even say, like, I'm out of here. And he saw the message and didn't respond. What the fuck, And you put it into a different perspective for me. I was sort of offended. Turns out he responds the next day. He had to get up super early. He saw I was selling merchandise. I was making sales after the show. He didn't want to disturb me. He said, hey, I saw you were selling your stuff. I had to get out of there. I had to get up early. Thanks so much for the gig. I would have taken the gift, but I was already gone. I can't, I had invented this narrative because I had been awake all night and I was driving, and I'm like, why is this guy not messaging me back? Why is he ditching out after the show? I had put all this bullshit into it. You turned me around a little bit, and I'm not saying this to shit on you. You gave me a different perspective that didn't turn out to be true. Neither of us was right. My bullshit, your good take on it. The reality was just life happens. And I stopped and paused, and I'm like, why did I? And again, I will in part blame the fact that it was 4 a.m. and I'd been driving for 6 hours, but also, I also could have been aware of that. I also could have said, dude, you're tired. Let it go. Whatever will be, will be.
Right.
And then when the message came, I felt like a fool. I'm like, I feel kind of dumb now that I'd been even irritated. So I think a lot of what we do in our heads is invent scenarios And unfortunately, a lot of time, oh, and that was the final thing I wanted to barf up. A lot of the time, those scenarios can be negative, and that is not helpful. The final thought I had was, in hearing you speak, we seem to have different forms of negativity, whereas you're talking about negative thoughts towards others, which I'm definitely guilty of, but mine, when they get really damaging, they're what I say about me. When I wake up in the middle of the night and
Mm-hmm.
I am hating on myself and second guessing, like the conversation I had with you, second guessing every interaction I've had with someone. How did I make them feel? Why did I do that? Why did I say that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a horrible person. I'll probably never get booked again. And so, do you want to go down either of those paths? The idea of negativity as how we treat others versus how we treat ourselves? Or is
I
it,
mean, I'll address a bunch of it.
sure,
I think for me, it's a bit of the same. I mean, because I do like what you're talking about, where it's like you're just taking something personally that had nothing to do with you,
absolutely.
right? And I noticed this the other day. I went to go. Oh boy, yeah. Let's see. I'm in the double bind that you get caught in often. I went to go see a guy
You want to say
who,
something, but without
right,
saying too
like
much.
yeah, and he's not a friend, he's an acquaintance. And he's talking about how like all this shitty stuff keeps happening to him and how like his life is just a mess. And then he starts telling about all the shitty things, and they're not things that happen to him, they're things that happen to people he knows. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like in a weird way, he's like leeching off of other people's stuff like it's his own. Like he's now a victim of this tragedy because someone he knows suffered a tragedy. And I'm like,
Is it,
hmm,
is there now this, the way I hear what you're saying, but the way I'm interpreting it in my brain, so my first thought is, and I'm not part of the conversation, is like, oh, my brother got fired from his job. It's not a matter of my brother got fired. Wow, I feel so bad for him. It's my brother got fired. Fuck, life sucks. Or why is everything like,
yeah, like why? Like somehow it became his problem that theoretically his brother got fired. Like somehow
yeah,
that was his weight to bear. And I was like, oh. And then I was talking to somebody else, and I talked to a few people, and I heard that there's this kind of like incessant victim mentality where we're all just victims all the time, right? If something happens to you, then oh my God, one of my best friends, Nate, some shit happened to him. Oh my God, see? It's like, and then somehow it becomes like my thing that I get to go tell people, and then they feel bad for me or
right.
something like that. And it's just like, I hear that all the time, and I'm like, oh, that's what that's what I notice in my mind is that the degree to which I will somehow imagine myself to be the victim of something that I'm not the victim of, or even if I am the victim of it, it's my responsibility to get myself out of it, even if it isn't my fault, right? Like there's a difference between fault and responsibility. Just because something isn't your fault doesn't mean it isn't your responsibility, right?
Yeah, we've talked about
And
that before, where
yeah,
if something bad happens to you, you're in a relationship, you get dumped. Wow, that sucks. And you're allowed to feel bad. You're allowed to feel sad. You're at a job, you get
yes,
fired. And maybe by no fault of your own. Maybe someone threw you under the bus. Feel bad, be angry, be sad. If you're doing that 6 months, a year later, something's wrong. You're
right.
allowed
Like,
to have
well,
human
yes,
emotions. How
absolutely,
far you take those,
yes.
people I believe tend to, they understand what gets attention. And if they, wow, this shitty thing just happened to me, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I hear you, I feel bad for you. Ooh, I like the way that feels. That's a little hit, that's an endorphin rush.
Yeah,
People are paying attention to me. And so then it can become perpetual. And I agree with you, that's where we are today, where every single, we are in a full-on victimization society
yeah,
where anything happens
yeah.
and we take it to the extreme and say it's because, well, you and I talked about this book I tried to read about, and I didn't want to give it away because I didn't want to, shit on anyone's work, but I wanted to read about a class of people that had wrongfully been oppressed, but the first couple of pages were, this group of people has been the most oppressed group of people of all time. I'm like, okay, but anybody can make that argument. How about, there is a wide swath of people that have been oppressed. Why must you single it down to, it's not a contest. Why don't we just have empathy for all and all try to do better, as opposed to, making sure that someone gets that championship blue ribbon.
Yeah, they win the oppression Olympics. Isn't that what the conservatives call it? Some shit like that.
That keeps coming back and forth. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's funny.
it is. And that's the thing. Now conservatives feel oppressed and that they are
absolutely
being put upon. They feel
it is
like
unbelievable.
victims. And we can laugh at it. I personally do think it's absurd. But if they genuinely feel that way, part of it can be manipulation. I believe there are those, like the pundits on TV, that use it as manipulation. But there are real Americans out there, real people who buy into it, and then they do feel oppressed, and then they lash out, and it hurts everyone.
I mean, it's both sides. It's two sides of the same coin. Yeah. Right? Like, I don't like to say it that way, because I don't like making the parallels between the stuff I agree with the people I disagree with. But the difference is that, like, the people I agree with, when they start whining and crying and talking about their problems and stuff, and their problems mirror mine, I'm like, yeah, you go on, you preach, And then when I hear the other people talking about shit that I don't want, I'm like, fuck you guys are a bunch of fucking morons. And it's like, it's all just religion, right? Yeah. It's all just beliefs. It's beliefs. It's not facts. It's beliefs, and it's the identity that we claim, which is the problem, right? Like, and this is kind of,
interrupt quick, because there are difference between facts and beliefs. I did see a segment the other day where Tucker Carlson, to use a prime example, was complaining about the cancellation of Dr. Seuss, and he pulled a Dr. Seuss book that had not been canceled, that was about anti-racism or full-on acceptance, and was using it as an example of saying, look at this, Dr. Seuss taught this is a good book, how dare they? And it's like, fuckface, for a fact that is not one of the 6 books that is being discontinued, because it does not have shit imagery in it. Like, that's so there are facts, and he's one of the people I would say that manipulates. And this is where it gets dicey, because I'm guilty of this. I all too quickly go, he's the guy that manipulates my stupid friends from high school that don't know any better. And when I say that, it doesn't help anybody, but I say it anyway because they're my friends, and I don't give a fuck that they believe their stupid shit. I'm still friends with them. I'm not angry at them. I'm not like, why do you watch Tucker Carlson and vote for Trump? I just fucking let it go. But I still call them stupid. Anyway, I interrupted you, and I apologize. Just, there are facts and there are beliefs, but all too often they become messy, especially in here and here. And then we want to believe what we do, the end around, where I believe this, so now I must try and make it into truth, opposed to, I'll shut up.
Here's something interesting. I'll give you a crazy perspective on that, and then we can talk about narrative warfare. The thing with Tucker Carlson and a lot of the people on the left and the right,
both sides do it. I just use Tucker as an example.
Yeah, they're performing narrative warfare, where they're telling the truth, but they're selectively editing it, and then spitting out stuff that is true, but so carefully edited so as to be misleading. Right? Mm-hmm. It's a way to use the truth to be misleading. Is Dr. Seuss being canceled? Well, some of it, yes. Right? And if they posted the pictures of the ones that were being removed, they might go, oh, right, but they don't post those pictures.
Right.
They put up the Starbelly Sneetches, which is really about the stupidity of judgment, right?
And that's the book Tucker Carlson used, was Sneetches.
Right. They put that up to show you that, like, oh, he's being canceled. But anybody who knows that book is about that, right? It's about not canceling people just because they're different from you, right? So it's like, right, but that's not actually one of the books. And he knows, right? You're right. He, for a fact, knows that. And that's what's so bothersome about it, because the people that he's talking to don't know that. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know. And because they don't know, they think he's telling the truth. And he's doing that on purpose. It's a really carefully manicured manipulation. You know, it really is. It's really fucked up. Anyway.
And can I say this quickly to go sideways? And I
Mhm.
apologize. I don't want to say defense of Dr. Seuss, but back then, with no internet, and look, in the 2000s, I visited Japan, and I was an oddity. Like, I went to places where little schoolgirls saw me and like giggled. They're like, "Oh my god, a round eye." And I played up to it. I went like Godzilla, and they all like giggled and screamed. They were unfamiliar with white people. Like, I was deep in the
Yeah.
heart of Japan. I went into Korea, and they would just look at me like, not judgmentally, just like, "Look at that, a white guy. That's weird," you know. And that's just
Hmm.
20 years ago. In Dr. Seuss's time, we
Uh,
knew fucking nothing about the world around us. So
that's
the
true.
caricatures he drew of the African tribes people that obviously look like racist shit
Hmm.
today, and the Asian person with the slanty eyes and the chopsticks and the deep yellow, and he drew horrible caricatures.
Hmm.
That's what all of society thought, and I'm not defending it, but I am saying that I don't think he sat down with malicious intent and said, there's a black person, but I'm going to make him look like this. Nobody knew any better. Nobody. So you have a guy that
Yeah.
wrote Sneetches and drew these cartoons, and his estate, not people saying cancel Doctor, his estate said, let's pull those.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's true. Like, I never like using that. We just didn't know any better at the time, but it's really the truth. Like, when you and I were kids, the kind of stuff that we would say to each other is the kind of stuff that would get you kicked out of school now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it was just word, we just threw those words around like it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was nothing. And nowadays, my God, you get expelled and be called, it'd be like a hate crime to say some of the shit we
Yeah.
said to people just in fun and good old fashioned jest. It's unbelievable. So there is a certain thing. It doesn't mean that what we did was right. We're ignorant. We're stupid. We're stupid children.
Yeah.
We did stupid children things. You know what I mean?
And all we
But
can do is
you
raise our
know,
kids to be better and just say, hey, don't
absolutely,
say that.
yeah,
And just say, hey, don't say that. Not yell and scream at them like you're the most evil kid in the world. How dare you say that? Which is
yeah.
what cancel culture does to people today. They say, oh, you said that? Now we're going to yell at you. Yelling at
Yeah,
people never changes
again,
anything.
we're this takes us into the forgiveness piece all over again. We
Yeah.
always end up back at like
Which
the
we should steer
forgiveness
away
piece.
from. We should stick to our
Let's
negative
do that.
thoughts we think about ourselves,
Well,
which
all right.
unfortunately, as
Here's
you rightly pointed out, causes us to project them onto others.
here's what I will say. When you're talking about the Tucker Carlson stuff and things like that, and almost any of this stuff, right? When I was in the hospital, I had a couple of near death experiences, right? Like, it was really crazy. My heart stopped for like 8 seconds at a clip, and I would just be like gasping for air, like, and I'd be inhaling, and I could feel like when you take a breath in, you're like, you feel that there's air in there and you feel it, but then if your heart's not beating, it's not circulating. So you're suffocating even though you have air in your lungs, right?
Right.
It's a very weird feeling.
I love that you're laughing about it now. Like, I had
I
these
mean,
experiences. I'm breathing in this air.
I mean, because when you have a near death experience and several in a row, like this shit went on before they actually figured out what it was or were able to fix it. It was like 2 hours. And it would happen like every few minutes. Like, I would be doing it. So it happened several times. And every time I thought this might be the time my heart might not start up again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was crazy. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm used to this. I'm sure I'll be fine. It was like, well, I'm in a hospital, so hopefully they can save me when I die. That was what I was hoping. But I was like,
Interesting goddamn thought to have.
right. And like, you know, and to have it happen repeatedly over and over and over and every time, you're like, God, you're like fucking Sanford. This is the one. This is the you know what I mean?
Is it Esther?
Right, exactly.
Was it Esther?
I think so. Yeah,
Esther, I'm coming, Esther.
right. Like, you know, it was like, holy shit, dude. Like, this shit was terrifying, right? Now, We all know that there's a scimitar hanging over our heads at all times.
Yeah.
And it is held by a spider web that is very, very thin. And just any little thing and our life could be over. Like we're all well aware of that intellectually. We know that every time you get in a car, walk down a flight of steps, wake up, stretch your back, eat something, whatever it is, you know that death is this
Get
thing that's
microchipped.
always there. Right, get microchipped, right? Like we all know this. But like I know it in my bones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't kind of know it. Like I know it. And it's the intellectual knowing and the emotional knowing are just two radically different things. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff that goes on. If we're talking about Tucker Carlson, we're talking about people on the right or the left, it doesn't matter. There's things we intellectually know are wrong or even right, but emotionally, we just can't wrap our brains around them. You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
just can't wrap our brains around them. And we think that because we think it's right, because we know that it's wrong or know that it's right, that somehow that means we'll do right. And it's not true, right? Like everybody knows that we could be dead, we could die in our sleep for whatever reason. Like just some simple reason. You just die in your sleep. Happens all the time. Or you get in a car accident or whatever the fuck it is. And so we should literally be living every day as if like, if I die today, will it have been a good day? Is today a good day to die? Because I'll tell you, that's what I was thinking when I was in there. Like every time I was about to die, I was like, it's too soon. Like I haven't done half the shit I've wanted to do. And that's what hit me. It was like, there's so many things that I want to do that I haven't done that I could have been doing all this time, you know? And I was like, right, like just because I know something is true and I know I should be living instead of like the shadow of death should make me want to live my life to the fullest, not hide and live in fear,
Yeah.
right? But that's ultimately what it does for most people. And it's somehow like knowing that something is true and knowing it in your bones are just two different things. And I think that when it comes to this whole Tucker Carlson racism thing or whatever it is, everybody knows this shit is wrong. But everybody knows. But intellectually or emotionally, we all feel like something's being taken from us. It's that victim thing, right? And even with death, it's like, oh, I'm a victim because death is staring at me at all. Death is hanging out in the corner at all times, just looking at me, being like, one day, kid, I'm coming for you. You know what I mean? Like what Jim Morrison say, nobody gets out alive.
Yeah.
And it's true, right? Like nobody gets out alive. And it's like, but that's a real thing. And we should live our lives with that knowledge, not in fear because of that knowledge or victimized by that knowledge, but liberated by that knowledge somehow. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm going to go sideways with it. And I
Yes,
apologize, but
please.
stay with me.
Oh,
I'm not,
yes.
it might sound like I'm belittling what you're saying, but I'm not. And I hope I express myself correctly. I had a friend um, back when Groundhog Day was released. And I remember them, I don't remember the exact circumstances, maybe playing video game or something, but sort of wistfully saying, man, just think of all the shit you could get done if you had like that happen to you like every day. And you know, you just get to repeat it and you could learn languages or learn to do stuff. And then he went back to playing his video game. And I'm like, but that's the point of the movie is that's life. You
Right,
do have every day. If you
right.
practiced guitar for 30 minutes every day, at the end of the year, you'd be an okay guitarist. You wouldn't be Joe Satriani, you wouldn't be Eddie Van Halen, but you know, but if you just look at it like, man, if only that Groundhog Day thing would happen to me, and you know, time is what we make of it. And you shouldn't need to have a near-death experience to appreciate life, but unfortunately, that is the way it is. Where, again, another sideways example, Nancy Reagan got very involved with Alzheimer's when Ron became showing signs of it, or the diagnosed was the word I was searching for. And these are the same people that were sort of like, oh, AIDS, that's a fag disease, then we don't need to worry about it. Because until it happens to you, until
Yeah.
AIDS hit the mainstream, it became a straight disease, until Ron Reagan got Alzheimer's, did she understand, oh, medical conditions or things don't just happen to people out there, it happens to people. And yeah, I could be incorrect, and maybe I am, but I think that they even opened up better AIDS funding after discovering the fragility of life overall, even if it, that was
Yeah.
dismissed up front because
Yeah.
it was just in the gay community. Like
Yeah.
I said earlier,
I'll say
their
this.
voice.
I will tie this into what you said earlier. I think part of the problem is, one, when it comes to other people, we tend not to see the humanity in other people until we suffer what they suffer.
Mm.
You
Yep.
know, until you walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, you think their shoes are really fucking comfortable, right? And then you put them on and you're like, oh, these actually just look comfortable. Because everybody has problems and everybody suffers and everybody's life sucks in some way, shape, or form. You know
I
what I
have an
mean?
example for you.
Yes.
Uh, Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
I
There
mean,
you go. Perfect
anybody
example.
could have looked at him and said, wow, handsome, charismatic movie star. He's got it all. And he's gone. He was
Right.
hiding
Exactly.
from everyone that took him
Exactly.
ways too soon.
Absolutely right. Exactly.
We
And
never knew what
that's
he was
right.
fighting on the inside until it was too late.
Right. And that's what I mean, right? Like we just don't know. Like we see the manicured part of people's lives that they want us to see. And so we have an illusion of what people's lives look like, when in reality their lives are probably really fucking hard. Even if they're living a great life, it's still hard sometimes. Like life is just sometimes hard, you know? Like the weight of being human is sometimes just tough. And because we're pretty fucked up creatures, like we're pretty fragile. We're
Yeah.
incredibly strong, and also like it always shocks me how we can be so strong and so fragile at the same time. You know, like it's fucking incredible that these two things can coexist with each other. Like there's moments in my life where I've had to really call upon incredible amounts of strength that I did not know that was even possible for me to have, right? To get through certain things or to figure certain things out or whatever it is, right? And then there's other things where I was just utterly broken. And I was like, wow, both of these are possible. And it's not that one is good and one is bad, right? Like we always tend to think like, oh, this is a good thing, this is a bad thing. It's like, no, they both just coexist at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Like they coexist. Our strength and our absolute fragility exist simultaneously, you know? And I think that when we realize that in ourselves, it allows us to realize that in others, and allows us to have humanity, to see the humanity in them, and therefore care about the Alzheimer's patients before we have Alzheimer's, right? The other thing that I think that ties into what you said earlier is just the notion of that won't happen to me. My granddaddy smoked cigarettes. He was 900 years old. I won't get lung cancer, right? And
Our
that ties
egos
into that
are,
fucking,
is it
what's
our
that?
ego or just our massive sense of denial? Our ability
It's
to,
both.
yeah.
Yeah. But this ties into your American Idol thing with positive thinking. I do believe that positive thinking is good, but positive thinking and denial are not the same thing, right? Like not practicing your guitar and then picking it up one day. Like people who never play guitar and then they pick it up at 25 because they're good at Guitar Hero. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck off. Like, not that they don't have a right to go play guitar, they have every right to play guitar. They really do, because music is free for everybody. So go fucking whistle, hum, pick up a guitar, get a fucking bass, a trumpet, sing, whatever. Do it to your heart's content. But when you pick up the guitar at 25 because you're good at Guitar Hero, and then you go to jam with your friend's band and they don't want to jam with you the next day, it's because you suck. Just because you don't think so, right? But we don't believe that about ourselves. So like there are people who go on American Idol, and they've been working at this and working and practicing, not just dreaming about it, but actually practicing and working on it to be great at it. It wasn't something they did on a whim. And then you see that they have some talent. Then there's other people who are like, it's natural. I don't have to do the work. It's like a kind of entitlement that they just, and if you ask them to take a lie detector, they legitimately believe that they have a shot, even though they only sing in the shower, never really done anything. They sing along with the radio, and that doesn't mean that they suck, right? Plenty of people sing along with the radio and sing in the shower, fucking fantastic. But it's like, it's, there's a difference between something being a hobby and something being a career. They're just two different things.
Well, and
You
that
know?
leads to the and I haven't seen American Idol in 10 years.
Oh yeah.
Since Simon Cowell was the host. I don't know.
I mean, dude, when they turn music into a game show, competitive sport, I was like, oh, I have no interest in this.
I didn't, but
No
it was
fucking
so
interest in
pervasive.
this.
You know, you couldn't
Yeah.
like if but the whole point is you would see these clips of people that Simon Cowell had said no to, and he was pretty harsh, but I mean they were just broken in tears, and I'm going to show him, and I'd be sitting there going, you're not going to show him. He's kind of right, you know. But
Right.
what ego
If
was,
you do show him, it's going to be in 5 years with a lot of work you'll show
yeah,
him. But
yeah,
right now,
it could
and
happen, but not,
and
yeah.
but I think that there's a fundamental thing with us where like there's like this thing that happens where because of the way we're all taught to feel like we're being judged, and it's like, dude, like you watch TV, and half the time when I'm watching TV, I'm being judgy. I'm not enjoying the show. I'm picking out what I don't like about it rather than focus on what I do like. Sometimes when I'm listening to music, I'm listening from a critical perspective, like what makes this suck, not what makes this great. And that makes a huge difference. If I go in thinking, what do I like about this song? I have a much different experience than what do I not like about it. And the stuff I don't like about it could still exist, right? But I feel like that between that and social media and all this other stuff, we're taught to feel like we're being watched all the time, which then makes this like weird thing happen where like you feel like nobody can watch you in the practice phase, And if you suck at something, it somehow means you can't ever be good at it, right? Like somehow our power has been taken away, right? Like most people they don't believe that if they practice they'll get better. They don't believe that. You know what I mean? Like it's very weird,
It
like a
goes to what
weird
you
kind
said
of
earlier.
self-defeatist thing. What
It
was
goes
this?
to what you said earlier about only seeing what we want to see, the cultivated aspect. That is all of
Yes,
social media. I mean,
yes,
people generally, there are two sides to social media. You do have people who, the influencers are the people that only, they take 20
absolutely.
pictures and then they
Yes,
only show you the good ones. And then the flip side is what we talked about earlier, the victims, where, you have people in your Facebook feed that, oh, there they are having drama again. Like everything is always going wrong. Oh, now this happened. Now this happened. And at first you're like, wow, you lead a really sad life and I feel bad. But then a year later, you're like, oh, what happens with Drama Queen or Drama King today? Um, so that's one thought I had. But the other thought I had is you talk about the practice phase, goes to people as big as Chris Rock, who today will say, okay, nobody fucking recording right now. I'm working on new material. Because if someone records it and throws it on YouTube, it's like, wow, Chris Rock isn't very funny. It's like, no, he's got a special in a year. He needs to build up to that special.
working it out, right? But like, I feel like there's shame attached to that, not for him, and that's why he's who he is. That's why all the greats are who they are because they're willing to do the work. But I know a lot of people who feel shame about the fact that they have to do the work, right? Like that, like the people who get yelled at by Simon Cowell. It's not that they suck, it's that they suck right now, right? Like that's all. They suck now. It doesn't mean they didn't. Like, dude, one of my first teachers, uh, one of my first real teachers, my bass teachers post college, was this guy named Sly, and he said to me, never be mean to anybody in New York City. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, because a year is a long time, man, and a lot changes in a year. I was like, explain. He said, well, there's this guy I know, and he was a handful of years older than we are. And he said, there's a guy I know who's a drummer, and he sucked. And later on, I saw him, and I was kind of a dick to him. And then a year later, I saw him, and he's doing great. He had a great gig, and he was really good. And he's actually really a cool guy. And I would have been a really good fit for that gig. It was a high profile gig, and there's no way he would have recommended me because I was such a dick to him. And just a year later, right? Because what you say, it's 30 minutes will do a lot, but 3 hours will do even more, right? So if you, like the guy who sucked just went home, he realized he sucked because a lot of people were being dicks to him because New York is like that, right? And they're being dicks to him. So he just went and holed himself up in a practice room for about a year and came out a fucking beast. You know what I mean? He started putting himself in situations that he just couldn't hang and just got his ass whooped a lot and practiced and got himself on some high profile shit. But
And I
most
bet
people aren't
he
willing to
has
do that.
really long memory.
Right. And or I mean and part of it is like when people were a dick to me when I used to suck, I feel like when I was in a jam session band, I tried not to be a dick to the people who suck,
Yeah.
but it's hard, right? It's not easy. Like, like if I'm on stage, I'm playing with some fucking shitty drummer who's grinning from ear to ear because he's playing with the band and he thinks he sounds great and he sounds terrible and nobody can really fucking find the one. It's like catching a cricket. It's fucking nonsense. You know what I mean? It's just like, the fuck is going on here? And it actually makes you mad because somebody's taking something you love and you're not able to do it, right? Like I can't play bass if the drummer's all over the place. Like I could just nail, okay, here's what the one is, but if he's not even listening, I can't make him follow me. Do you know what I mean? And like, it's not something I should take personally, but it's annoying, you know? And so I try to remember all the times when I was that guy, when I was the bass player fucking up the changes because I didn't know the fucking song. And you know what I mean? And people were a dick to me. I try to remember those things so I'm not that way to other people. I try, and I'm sure I failed many times. I'm sure I did because sometimes it's just like, oh God, stop it, please stop it. But then the guy will be like, hey man, so much fun to play with you, and I'm like, yeah man, shaking his head like, yeah, that was great, man. Come back next week, really. Buy some drinks while you're here. You know what I mean? Like because like I was that guy once, and there's actually a funny story. Guy, I know I won't mention his name because he's a good friend of mine, but he knows, right? But other people may not. But like he first started coming to the gym, and he's kind of like, all right, it's cool. But then he kept on coming and kept on getting his ass whooped, and not getting his ass whooped, just going to school. You know what I mean? You just go to school, and he went home and practiced the stuff he learned. He didn't make the same mistakes twice, and then he really became everybody's friend. And then he's a badass now. You know what I mean? But it was because he was willing to be humble and not think that because there's other people who came who showed up who were just as good as he was and they had the same exact opportunities and they didn't take them. They just didn't take them. They didn't they didn't work on what anybody would tell them or suggest they work on. They'd be fucking up in the same mistakes and the same songs week after week and then be pissed off. And it's like those are people who don't there's like a shame there. For me at least, when I was in that place and I wasn't doing the work, is because there was a shame that I had to do the work. Like somehow I shouldn't have to do this. Like I went to a jam session, I fuck up a song. I shouldn't have to go back and practice it. I should be good enough to hear it at whatever age I was at that time. I should know enough to be able to get through this without making mistakes. And if I can't, then that brings me shame. And if I feel shame about it, then I'm not going to address it because addressing it makes me feel even worse about myself.
Right.
because it's actually difficult. When you do a dress, you're like, oh shit, my reading sucks. And you start working on some reading, and it's like, oh my God, it's worse than I thought. I don't want to do this. You shut the book, you put it away. You know what I mean? It's like the monster under the bed. But then one day you get on a gig and you get humiliated and you decide you're never going to have that happen to you again. And then you learn how to read. And I think, just to whatever fucking tangent we're on now, but like, one of the things that I've learned is like, I don't want to have to wait until I hit, as the alcoholics call it, rock bottom before I learn lessons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my father used to say this. He's a kid. He said to me, kid, there's two types of people in this world: people who learn things the easy way, and people like you.
For a second, obviously, I thought you were going to say the hard way, and then I was going to Google the Michael J. Fox James Woods movie, which is so fucking good.
I'll check this out. But yeah, he said that to
Saw
me.
it. It came out when we lived in Boston together.
I don't know, but he wasn't even saying it to be mean. He was just being honest.
Yeah.
And he was like, kid, like there's an easier way to do this. Like you don't have to always learn things the hard way. But that was what it was. It was like somehow the victim mentality and learning things the hard way go hand in hand.
Well,
Do you know what I mean? Like they really
youth.
do.
I mean,
and youth, yes.
When I die and go to hell, I'm pretty sure it will be me sitting in a courtroom having to listen to accusations from all the people I treated poorly in my 20s and teens. I mean,
right.
And I think, I pray, I hope I've gotten better. I mean, what I know, I can pull up incidents where I've made people feel really good about their comedy, where not because I've praised them falsely. I had an incident where God, this is how sad comedy is. I don't even know where I've been recently. It just all becomes a fog. I know a young comedian was going up before me, and they asked me to watch and give advice to their set. And I said, I'll watch you, but I'm not going to give you advice. And here's why. It's because I don't know what I'm doing. You're going to figure out who you are on your own. And I can't tell you how to do that. I can't tell you, like, do this or do that. If you're comfortable up there, just be comfortable. Just figure out who you are. And I talked to them, and they were like, thank you so much after the show. Like, it was really nice. And that's not unique. I can tell this story because I say that to all comics, like, and I mean it. I want them to be better comics. And the only way they can do that. And this particular night that I have in my brain, the comic went up and I went, no, ooh, not good at all. But it didn't make me go, ooh, not good. Fuck, get off the stage. Fuck you. Never do comedy again. In my 20s, I might have. I probably would have. Today, it's like, ooh, shit. Well, like you said, give you a year. Like, I'm more encouraged.
Just give it time.
Whereas in my 20s, I might have like, what the fuck are you thinking? Get off the stage. You're stinking it up for everyone.
The
Fully
problem
forgetting
is
me being a shitty comic that was starting out and a shitty comic today. See, negative thoughts about myself. I just did it right there. Self-appreciating.
But I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, and there's a plethora of country songs written about this. But like, if you could write a letter to your younger self, that your younger self, like, like you have that Michael J. Fox moment where you go back in time and you get to see yourself. If I had the opportunity to go back and see my 16-year-old self, I'd give him a serious talking to.
Well, he went to see
what I mean? He did. And I would have told them, I'd have given them a serious talking to also.
This is called a condom. Wait, now I'm goodbye.
No, but if I go back and see my parents, I'm like, listen, you guys, you do the best you can with what you've got. You really do. And I get that. But I would have said, hey, listen, don't let me quit things just because I don't like them. Make me stick it out until I'm good at it and then decide I want to quit because it's not for me. Not, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. And I got to disagree with you. I mean, my stance has always been every fuck up I have ever made and continue to make got me here. And you go back and, you change one thing, the butterfly effect. Okay, Nathan
Yes,
16,
sure.
uh, you know, don't quit this. Well, then I get back to this timeline and it's like everything's different because I didn't meet my wife. I don't have my kids.
Yeah, but you might have
Wouldn't
two other
change
kids in a
anything if
different
I
way.
wouldn't write a letter to my
You
younger
know?
self. To me, the trick would be the flip of that, which people do, which is write a letter to yourself 5 years from now or 1 year from now. Like, this is where you are now, because
Absolutely.
we forget so fucking much so fucking fast.
Yeah.
And so you look back a year later, 5 years later, like, whoa, it's almost like deja vu. I kind of remember that, but it had been nowhere near the forefront of your mind before
Yeah.
rereading your own thoughts. So I would never look to the past other than to wince and
I
sit in
mean, that's
judgment.
valid.
Wow.
No, no, but that's a valid point. It goes back to what we're talking about. Like, it's so easy because what you said is writing a letter to your future self. Like, here's what I'd like to be. Here's what I hope we learned. Here's what I do this, or even just journaling on a regular basis,
Yeah.
just writing down a document of where you are, things like that. It's a very different way. And like going back and writing a letter to my younger self highlights some of the things that I did wrong.
Yeah. Dear
You know what I
fucking,
mean? Now I could also write a letter to myself, congratulating myself on all the things I did right, of which there are plenty also. But it's true, like it's so easy to go into this like woulda, coulda, shoulda, if only.
yeah.
Like it's easy to fall into that. And I feel like this is what I noticed when I was talking to the guy talking about all the things that befell his friends, how they're all his personal tragedies. I was thinking, we spend a lot of time diagnosing problems and talking about problems and dissecting them and talking about how bad they are and if onlys and shoulda, woulda, couldas. And it's like, if I spent less time complaining about the fact that I'm a shitty reader and more time just learning how to read better, I would have been a better reader faster. Now I'm a decent reader, but
The
I mean
Groundhog
reading
Day
sheet.
thing we just talked
I
about.
mean, right. It's exactly that, right? Like, it's like, it's like a real thing. You know what I mean? Like, we spend a lot of time watching TV and playing video games and complaining that our life is not where we want it to be.
Yeah.
And it really isn't where we want it to be. And the problem is that if you're, you know, 26 miles from the finish line, that's a fucking long ass run. You know what I mean?
It's a complete
When you're
marathon, which is why
right,
we chose that. I
right,
mean,
exactly. But I mean, but that's what I mean. It's like that's a long run, Like, and if you're already tired, it's like right now, like I'm a grown ass man. I don't feel like training for the marathon. I could have done that shit in my 20s. Now, even if I could do it, I don't want to take the time to do it, right? Because it's just too much fucking work. And that's what most of our problems are like. If we don't address them when we're younger, when you actually have to deal with them, they're really a lot of fucking work. Do you know what I mean? Like it takes a lot to dig yourself out of a hole. But the problem is that I find is that there's certain holes that are inevitable that you have to dig yourself. Like just because it's a lot of work. Like if you're in a financial hole, right? And there's no
holes that we
pandemic going
put
on.
ourselves into, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if your money isn't straight, that's probably from some shit you did or didn't do properly. When that's like when everybody tells you start investing when you're 20, and by the time you retire, you'll have millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But if you start investing at 29 or 30 and you invest twice as much, you'll have significantly less because of the way compound interest works. It's like everybody knows that, but one out of every 150 people does it, maybe. You know what I mean? It's like there's holes that we dig ourselves in that we know we have to get ourselves out of. But again, in my life, I want to wait till rock bottom to then go, shit, let me get myself out of this place.
Yeah.
Like it's crisis management rather than living a life. It's crisis management,
Also, power
And
of denial again. Like, okay, that looks
right.
bad, but okay. It looks bad.
Yeah, if I just don't go look at my bank account, I won't see how little money's in
Right.
there. So really, it's like Schrodinger's cat. It's like it's dead and I'm dead or alive simultaneously. Until I lift up the box, I don't see how broke I am. It's like, okay, if you say so. It's like, fuck that. Get your shit together. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Well, do you have any? We're hitting bumping up on an hour. Do you have any closing
What a
thoughts, or
funny
should I just promote
realization.
us? Because we could keep going, and we probably will. Well, we can touch
I
on this again
mean,
next week because
yeah.
I'm not even sure we can come right back to negative thoughts, forgiveness, and the idea of we never even talked about meditation. Like I absolutely try and focus on my breath to get back to sleep. Like, okay, shut up, brain. I'm just
Yeah.
to get the evil thoughts out of there that tell me how worthless I am.
I mean, I'll say this real quick. Meditation helps me relax, but what it really does is it helps me see the quality of my thoughts. And once I can see how frequently I have certain thoughts, how frequently certain thoughts repeat themselves, and how frequently some of those are self-defeating and negative, I can then do something about them. But it more than it helps relax me, it helps me actually like it gives me like it's like it gives me a few seconds in between thoughts, and in that few seconds I can see what they are and I can make note of them. That's really what it does for me, if that makes sense.
It does, but it doesn't, and that's why I want to cut off here, because
we'll talk about it next week.
We should, because I'm dead serious. When I try and use the meditation, is what I say. It's like I don't want acknowledgement of my thoughts. I want to escape them. So when I'm focusing on my breathing, it's so I don't have these thoughts. The clarity you are gaining is I don't want to say I'm trying to escape all thoughts. So it's just, again, a different, interesting, and I'm fascinated by it because it could be something I need to learn to do. Because as I said, like I'm having these negative self-thoughts, you're having negative thoughts that then you project outward. So you use meditation as a way to become aware of these thoughts, where I'm using meditation to just shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, because you know this. And again, what a way to sign off. There were times toward the end of my 20s where I was, like, that's what you do when you don't escape these thoughts. And I was really close. I don't know what kept me from going over the edge. I kind of do, but
Jesus.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, well, no, Scientology. Anyway, AntarGoodwin.com.
Yes.
You go for all things Antar. KatieHenryMusic.com. He and Katie Henry are working on a new album.
Yeah, we go in the studio in first 2 weeks of March. We're recording at DeGraw Sound. Ben Rice is producing it.
It's already been the first 2 weeks of March.
I'm in May. Sorry, first 2 weeks of May. But Ben Rice is producing it. He's a fucking monster producer. The studio is great. I'm so excited. It's gonna be a good record. It's gonna be a good record.
I am at NathanTimmel.com, but more importantly, you can go to Amazon and type Nathan Timmel author, or do a Nathan Timmel search through books, and We Are 100 as a release.
Is it officially up?
What's that?
What's the release date?
Tuesday, March 23rd. We are a few days away.
Nice,
pre-order the Kindle right now, the Kindle version, and the paperback version will come out on Tuesday the 23rd. And
that's awesome.
Pre-order. Well, pop into your Kindle. It's only available on Amazon because they make it the easiest. Sorry, small book.
Are you gonna put it on your website?
I am. I have a product part where it'll link to Amazon. So that'll be tomorrow's thing. What I'm doing tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, with my wife, maybe not tomorrow, but over the course of the weekend, is we're gonna, on my website, you have that top bar that says Nathan here, his naked pictures, the videos, and there's one that says podcast. And because we have umbrellaed, we're going to break it up to the Idiots on Parade, the Jake and I, and the Antar and I, the Artificially Intelligent. So they're the book will be on the website. Everything's on my website, Nathan Timmel.
That's awesome, man. I'm sorry. It's a good book too, man. It's a good book too. You should be proud of yourself.
I'm I can't because I have low self-esteem.
Right.
People, this goes back to, maybe we could talk about this again, because I try to be better. People compliment me on it, and the first thing I do is I throw out a self-depreciating thought. Like my wife shared it, like, "Hey, Nathan's book is coming out," and people are like, "I can't wait to read it." And my first comment was, "I'd wait for the movie. I don't know how to read." Like I just
Right. But see, that's what meditation should do for you. It should give you, it should show you the frequency with which you have those thoughts.
they're
You can stop
nonstop.
doing them. Right.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's
Well,
good to see you, man.
thanks for tuning in. Good talking to you, my friend.
Yeah, you too, man. Stay out of trouble as much as you can.
I will do that, and yeah, we'll continue with meditation next week and negative.
Yeah, let's do it.
There's still a lot to unpack right there.
Yeah, indeed.
Good
All right,
talking.
man. Yeah, you too, man. Talk to you in a minute.